just not made up of representatives. You're right.
Whoa.
That won't hurt anyone.
Drop
That
it.
won't hurt anyone.
Drop it. Drop it. Get off me. Don't touch my shit. What's up, guys? We are at the University of Washington today. We are once again debating that men cannot be women. The last couple of days at the University of Washington, we've seen violent protests around campus. 2 nights ago, they took over the interdisciplinary engineering building. They occupied that building and they lit fires. They clashed with the police. They gathered stones to throw at them. Then yesterday, last night, we saw protests in response to Riley Gaines' appearance here at the University of Washington. So with that being said, let's get into it. You have chromosomes in your body that determine your sex.
Yeah, that's sex, not gender.
There is no difference between the two. A woman is defined as an adult human female.
Oh, well, to you, I guess.
No, according to Oxford, the most reputable dictionary in the English language.
I mean, the English language has been adapted over the millennia. Shakespeare made up a bunch of stuff, and definitions change over time, so...
Okay, well, the definitions haven't changed.
I mean, if you want to be restrictive about it, then, like, you can have fun in, like, this weird setup you have, but I'm having fun without a gender, so have a good day.
That's cool. You have a gender.
Yeah. I don't have like a particular like connection with this issue at all. I don't like to restrict people from expressing themselves, and I think that when it comes to transgender issues, like these are people that kind of just like identify themselves as in a certain way in society, and of course we can get into why that is. But I think I don't want to like straw man anything from your perspective, but. Are you going to argue that like it's bad for society for men to view themselves as women because of like traditional roles of masculinity and femininity are better for society?
No, it has nothing to do with traditional roles of masculinity, femininity. And to your point, I also don't want to restrict people from dressing how they want or expressing themselves how they want. I think it's bad for society because I think when we start touting something that is objectively false as a truth, I think that is a net negative for society, and I think we open up the door to a lot of other things being viewed as true or false when they are the opposite. I think it's also dangerous for women in women's sports. I think it's dangerous for women in women's bathrooms, and I think it's dangerous for it to be written into law that women can be men or men can be women. That's my main bone to pick. I don't think that men can really be women. I think they can pretend to be women, but I don't think they can actually be women.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's where I'd like to make the distinction between gender and sex. So of course, like in terms of sex, men and women are not the same. And I might even agree, I'm not really sure, but I might even agree that in terms of sports, like in some capacity, you need to make that distinction in order to make like fair separation based on physical attributes that may remain despite the transition process. But I think that the state, I don't like the idea of the state regulating how people like identify themselves as like in the sense of gender, man or woman, because I'm not convinced that there's like a specific and concrete like process that causes people to transition at some point in their life. That can be like we can say, oh, just avoid this kind of trauma, like or like process that causes people. I think there's just certain people are born with like the potential to like have a misalignment between their sex and how they feel as a person.
I think sex and gender are inextricably linked. I think generally most people think that woman or man are gendered terms and then male and female are sex terms. But the definition of a woman is an adult human female, and then female, the definition is a person who falls in the sexual category capable of bearing children and producing ova. So I think you can't be a woman without being a female, and being a female would make you a woman. So I don't think there's any important difference there. I also agree with you that I don't think the state should be regulating how people behave. I don't think the state should be saying you can't wear a dress if you're a man. I don't think they should be saying you can't wear a t-shirt if you're a girl. I think that adults should be able to dress however they want and whatever. But I don't think that because you pretend to be a woman, that should give you a license to go into women's bathrooms or go into women's sports and potentially harm them or strip accolades from women. Like Leah Thomas, for example, every record that Leah/William Thomas competed for at the University of Pennsylvania, he broke all of those records and stripped the records from actual women. He won the NCAA championship as a woman and stripped it from Riley Gaines. So in that respect, I think that there needs to be some restriction, but I don't support the state controlling how people dress and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think we have more agreement than I might have thought. I would just say that culturally, as like a country, and in certain areas where traditional values, so to speak, might uphold like narratives about like dangers of expressing yourself a certain way, should be definitely pushed against. And yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about like the state. I'm not sure about like the specific issues of like gender and bathrooms. Like I don't necessarily disagree on that at all. So yeah, I think we have more agreement than I thought.
Good. Yeah, sure. Yeah, like I said, I think you can dress however you want. My main quarrels are just with it is an objective truth that men can't be women. Men shouldn't be allowed in women's spaces, like bathrooms and stuff like that. And also, I don't think children should be allowed to transition, because we don't allow children to do virtually anything else. Tattoos, gamble, tobacco, alcohol, drive, vote.
Yeah, that's another complex one that I don't really know about. But I would say that, like, culturally, like, do you think that men, or like biological men, do you think we should respect their pronouns if they want to transition to a woman and call them she, her?
I think it's up to individual persons. I think that if somebody wants to respect somebody's pronouns, I think that that's fine if they want to do that. If they don't want to do that, I think that's fine too. My thing is, like, I don't care. I'll call you whatever you want if you're respectful to me. If I accidentally call you something that you're not, or that you're claiming you're not because you look like a man, and I call you sir or something, and you freak out on me, now it's off the table. I'm calling you whatever you don't want to be called on purpose. So I think it just depends.
Totally understand. I think that we should always respect how people want to be called. But yeah, I totally understand that point. And I think, yeah, it enables people to express themselves fully and therefore experience freedom as everyone else would.
I think it depends too. Like, if it's a political thing, like if you're doing it as like a very clear political thing, that's also a problem for me too. And I'm not going to respect them, because like, if you came up to me and said, I'm a lizard, I'm not going to call you a lizard. And I actually had a discussion with somebody on this campus who said that a grocery store grocer who does not refer to somebody by their desired pronouns should be fired in all cases. And I said, well, I think that should be up to the grocery store.
It's just not fair.
They should make the policy.
Like, if they don't know the pronoun, it's not fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if they do, it's like, I think that should be a policy that's set up by the grocery store. I don't think it should. They said it should be law. They should be spoken to, and if they keep doing it, they should be fired. And I said, well, what if I go to the grocery store and I say he has to call me a lizard? And she said, well, then he should call you a lizard. And I said, should be fired if he doesn't call me a lizard? She said, yes. And it's like, well, it's just, I'm not a lizard. Like, okay. You know, and if somebody told me to call them a lizard, I wouldn't do it.
Okay, so I guess I'm less concerned with the policy that would be enforced there, because I don't really know enough. But I would argue that in society we should make it so that that's not really like an issue, and that people like are just called by what they want to be called. And but I agree with you, like, it's people make mistakes, and we don't need to slander and overreact, so to speak.
Sure.
I had another point that I'm kind of forgetting. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Whatever you have. If you can think of it, then
yeah. I kind of just forgot.
No worries.
But yeah, no, my overarching point is, like, as a society, I don't think we should reject how people want to express themselves when there's a potential misalignment between their sex and how they feel in their mind, because ultimately we all want to live the same lives in terms of freedom and expression. So yeah, thank you, appreciate you.
Yeah. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too.
I got a quick question.
So what are we doing?
Studying.
What's with the music?
It's a song. You like it?
No, I don't. I mean, not really. You want to come talk?
Right?
You want to come talk?
We are talking, aren't we?
You want to talk at the table?
I'm happy here. I'm studying.
Do you disagree with my prompt?
I'm just studying.
Okay. I think that men cannot be women, and a lot of people disagree with that, so I'm inviting people to come talk about it.
I mean, I think in a biological sense that's true, but I don't understand the purpose of the argument. Like, what does it affect?
It affects the people who think that men can be women. What are you talking about?
I just don't see how this is. It's clear that having this discussion isn't going to change your perspective or change ours. You're clearly just on this campus because everyone will disagree with you and they'll see this and be like,
That's
oh,
not true. That's not true.
I find it like
Everyone here doesn't agree with me. I was flipped this note earlier. I've had a lot of people. Thank you for being here because you guys intimidate people and make them think that they can't speak out loud.
No, I'm just curious why you care so much. Like why you care so much to make a sign and say
because I don't think that society should be subscribing to an objective falsehood.
Okay.
I think that it.
Like, why is it
I think that it degrades the truth, and I think the truth is important.
I mean, you have a president who doesn't care about the truth.
Okay, congratulations.
Well, I mean,
Is that the topic here, or?
I mean, it's off topic, but I mean, it aligns with your hat.
Okay.
I think a true conservative or a true libertarian wouldn't support Donald Trump in anything.
Okay, that's great. Well, we're not talking about Trump today.
Why do you care about people doing things differently? Like someone like.
Because now it's being written into law.
Isn't going to change
No, but you know what does change things is Leah Thomas breaking every single record he competed in at the University of Pennsylvania and stripping those accolades from the women at that school, winning the NCAA championship and stripping that accolade from a woman. What it does affect is Peyton McNabb, who was spiked in the face with a volleyball, flew backwards and smashed her head off of the ground and received a concussion and a brain injury. That's a problem. She has a brain injury. It does because it's being written into law. It's being made policy.
I do believe that trans women shouldn't, like, the whole Leah Thomas thing, it does bother me as somebody who was a swimmer. I mean, I think it shouldn't have been allowed to get that far, but also there are only, what is it? Is it 8 or 12 trans women?
It doesn't matter. One is enough. It doesn't matter. One is enough. The policy is being changed, and Leah Thomas changed with his penis out in front of a bunch of women in those swimsuits. The race, well, you're not a woman, but like the women's racing suits are small and they take forever to get out of. So you're sitting there 20 minutes in front of a dude with the penis out in the girls' locker room. It's terrible. No, because Leah Thomas was viewed as a woman and he was not a woman. I agree.
You can't get there with dogmatic whataboutism, just saying.
How is this a whataboutism?
I feel like, I mean, you've said it before. If you think that men can't be women, and you simply restate that fact, there's not a very room for discussion there.
Then you don't disagree. If you think that men can't be women, then we agree. But Leah Thomas, for example, is an example of the policy driven by the opposite of this statement being put into action.
I think personal identity and trans individuals and sports is a completely separate situation. In that context, very much matters.
It's the exact inverse of this view being placed into policy. The allowance of men to compete in women's sports is driven by the belief that men can be women, but they cannot. And
I believe the argument is only valid in terms of sports and not really for any other aspect of society.
Okay, so if it's valid in terms of sports, men cannot be women. It's valid in all cases because men cannot be women.
Because
Absolutely.
IFBB pro bodybuilders can use steroids all the fuck they want, but you can't.
They can't. It's illegal. You cannot use performance-enhancing drugs in any sport.
IFBB pros do. They're all on at least a gram of tests.
Okay, testosterone is not an performance-enhancing drug.
I mean, it is a hormone that does very much affect how your body.
And I don't think that athletes should be. I don't think athletes should be allowed to take any kind of drug, whether it's testosterone or any kind of like performance enhancing supplement.
Outside of sports, do you think
whatever
you can use steroids, whatever?
No, it's illegal. Is it illegal to use steroids? I'm not familiar. I don't know.
I mean, it depends on what you're using. I mean, you can get like scientific.
I don't know. I think it's irrelevant.
But the point is that you can have.
I think adults should be allowed to do whatever they want.
Aspects of society.
Right. So I think that men, if
sports on its own is an entirely separate issue.
It's not separate. If you think that men cannot be women, then men cannot be women, right? If a woman wants to wear a t-shirt or a man wants to wear a dress, that is fine with me. They're adults. They can do whatever they want. But men should not be allowed into women's bathrooms. Men should not be allowed into women's sports. Okay? I don't care how you want to dress or how you want to make yourself appear, but we shouldn't be teaching people that an objective falsehood is the truth and then basing policy off of that objective falsehood.
The problem is, though, you take these very, very specific situations and you apply them to degrade the livelihoods and personal freedoms of people as a whole.
I'm not degrading anyone's personal freedoms, right? Again, if you want to be a man and wear a dress, you can do that, right? You can self-identify however you want, but that doesn't make you a woman, right? You can pretend to be a woman, doesn't make you a woman. I think that as an adult, you should be allowed to pretend to be a woman if you so choose. It shouldn't be illegal for you to do that, but you are not a woman, and you shouldn't base policy off of the belief that you are a woman, right? i.e. allowing men into women's sports, i.e. allowing men into women's bathrooms.
What about the fact that a woman is way more likely to be assaulted by some man walking into a women's restroom than any trans?
Well, that's a great point. If you allow men into women's restrooms, the rate of that happening is going to...
It's against the rules if a straight hetero man does the same thing. It would still be...
Right. So if you say trans people are allowed into women's bathrooms, and you say gender is fluid and you can become a woman whenever you want, now heterosexual men can walk into women's bathrooms. This is actually exactly my point. The rate of assaults from trans people is much lower than the rate of assaults from heterosexual men,
And I don't think
right?
that's enabled
But if you
by
allow,
society.
it is absolutely enabled if you say men can go into women's bathrooms, because now predatory men have a free pass to walk into women's
They'll do
bathrooms.
it anyways.
I think the problem is
It's illegal. It's illegal otherwise.
I think the problem is
Assault
by
in the
putting a
first
policy-
place is illegal. Them
Right.
going into the bathroom is a much
It
lesser legality
just
issue.
it just reduces a barrier for them.
I think the problem with this is it's not about a barrier. It's about creating policy that's meant to vilify. You're not going to have a bathroom guard outside of every bathroom doing genital checks. That's just absurd. and
No,
a
but
violation
making it illegal for men to go into women's bathrooms is another barrier for predators.
Would you call it a misdemeanor?
What?
Would you call it a misdemeanor if that was...
Would I say that it should be a misdemeanor?
Yeah, or an actual criminal offense?
I don't know. Probably a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor is a criminal offense.
I
I
know,
don't
but
know.
like compared to like an actual...
Like a felony? No, I don't think it should be a
I think
felony.
the policy, though, it serves no actual purpose because it's not going to implement any change.
It does. It prevents this. It prevents women from competing in men's sports. It prevents prevents both. It prevents men and women from competing in each other's sports, and it prevents both from going into each other's bathrooms.
I think ultimately the problem is you're taking very niche issues that do not represent a vast majority of the trans population.
Evidently, it's not niche, or you wouldn't be here talking to me.
Well, I just really think.
I just think it's niche enough to the point where it doesn't make sense to vilify it.
You think that men being women is a niche topic? I think it's one of the most talked about topics in today's society.
It's talked about because people
think men can be
people like
women.
to try to be victimized. You can see it throughout all of politics, but particularly right now.
Yeah, you see it right here.
In
This is where I
time
see it.
period, You can see it most from the right side of the aisle, right? You have people way over, like I guess I can't pull out a specific statistic, but you see it when people feel as though they're victimized or they're told they're victimized by a certain population of people, you end up with them massively overestimating issues. When it comes to
like this.
people, if you asked, like, the average person, if you asked a neo-Nazi, what percent of the population in the world are Jews? They might be like, oh, maybe like 1 or 3%, when the actual answer is like maybe 0.2%. You see the same thing with trans people, where they'll estimate it's definitely, like, before it was popular, it was probably like less than 1%. But
I don't
now
know
it's
or
gotta be
care
at
the
least
population percentage of trans people. I don't know or care.
that it's at least 5% of people are trans.
Well, not like LGBT. I think the percentage for trans is lower. but
No, much lower.
Among-
For sure. LGBT as a whole, yeah, that's pretty much.
among youth, it's getting near 5.
And that doesn't surprise me, but LGBT isn't the same as trans. And then it's also like when you have all these people are like, oh, well, it's only happening now because it's a trend. You see the same thing with RFK talking about autistic people being like, there were no autistic people like this when I was a kid. And why? Because they were institutionalized or lobotomized, right? Like they bring up these things as though they're new issues that are only happening because of social justice warriors and this and that. But really, I mean, the Romans had femboys. Like it's not a new thing, and it's also still a very small thing. And so when people act like it's a way larger issue than it is, like I said, I disagree, or I agree with you on the Leah Thomas stuff. I think the NCAA should not have let it get that far. Okay.
I don't think that it's very small. I think that I don't care what the population percentage of trans people is. I care. One second. I care that the majority of, or at least maybe not a majority, but a very large, almost a majority, a slim minority of the people in this country think that men can be women. That is my problem. It's not about how many trans people there are. It's about the fact that a very slim, probably minority of people in this country think that it is an objective fact that men can just be women.
To say what other people should or shouldn't be. It's not our place to dictate.
Can I be a lizard? Can I be black, actually?
I mean,
I'm a black man. Can I be black?
if
I mean, you
wanna
can do that. Like,
if
I
you want
don't
to say that, you will.
You think I can be a black man? I think that's ridiculous.
objectively, like,
I think you can claim to be.
Right, and I think a man can claim to be a woman, but it doesn't make it
It's a
true.
different situation, though.
It's not.
The concept of race is very much rooted in physical appearance.
And so is being a woman.
Yes, and someone can transition to look like a woman, and they can change.
So what if I paint myself brown and walk out? Am I
painting yourself
black?
brown is different than injecting melanin into all of the cells in your body.
What if I do that? Does that make me black?
I guess, but I think that would.
I'm not a black man.
I know you're not.
I will never be a black
What I'm
man.
saying is that I don't really care how people choose to like identify. Like, I don't think it's an issue.
Would you care if I painted my skin brown and walked around this campus pretending to be black? Would that bug
But
you?
I would say that's more of an issue because it's
Right.
rooted
So
in
how do you-
Jim Crow and blackface.
So how do you think women feel when they see men masquerading as women, claiming to be just as good as an actual woman, claiming that growing out your hair and injecting estrogen and trying to make yourself present as a woman is the same as actually being a woman?
Because
I think it's offensive.
I don't see a basis of hate behind it as the way I do with blackface.
I'm not. Well, hate is only based on intent. So if I paint myself brown without the intent of being offensive, why is it wrong for me to do it?
Because you'd have to be able to see the historical precedent that comes.
I'm not doing it because of the historical precedent. The historical precedent is independent of what I'm
I
doing.
think the question is, why would you be doing that?
I think the question is, why would men be pretending to be women?
Because they feel that way.
What if I feel black?
I mean, you could. There's no illegality relating to you doing that. Like, you can do that, and that's fine. That won't change your.
But it's
standing.
wrong. You think it's wrong.
I
mean,
think
I don't-
fundamentally the problem is turning it into policy. You take away free choice and action, because I believe there's inevitable social consequences in transitioning or coming out as trans, right? And truthfully, while I might not agree with people on a personal level of how they respond, it is ultimately everyone's free choice to respond in their own way to how people present or act, because that's what free speech and free action is all
I
about.
agree with you. I don't have any disagreement there.
The problem is, by putting it into policy, you're not making it a thing of social consequences.
It's going into policy either way. It's either going to be men can be women or men can't be women, because we do have gender exclusive spaces in this country, like sports and like bathrooms. And regardless, one way or the other, it always has been in policy, actually, that women are in this sports category and men are in this sports category, and women go to this bathroom and men go to this bathroom.
I feel like the problem is you're presenting as a black and white.
It is black and white. You're either a man or a woman.
You guys are living the highest.
I don't agree. I think the problem is you have to take everything by context, and you have to be fluid and variable with how you approach policy.
I think the context is you either have XY chromosomes or XX chromosomes. You're either a man or you're a woman.
So are you saying that if it was completely possible to change those chromosomes within a person, then that would make a man who fully, let's say some procedure like that existed, to completely change a man into a woman, would that not, by your definition then, make a man into a woman?
Okay, well, that technology doesn't exist, first of all. You'd have to change every cell in the body. Then you'd also have to deal with the bone density and muscle density problem. And you'd also have to deal with the height, biological height difference problems. If you could eliminate all of that, this is true, but if you could take all of that off the table and take all of the things that a man has more of on average, and somehow completely removed that from the equation, then fine. But that doesn't exist.
I still think that only applies to sports, especially when trans women have like the highest rates of hate crimes.
Why do you think that women are more likely to be raped than men?
Specifically because of those things like muscle density and
Right.
stuff like that, but they're way
Exactly.
statistically
So we shouldn't allow them into women's
likely to
bathrooms.
be raped by a man than they ever are a trans woman.
That's fine, exactly. So we shouldn't open up an avenue for men to be allowed into women's spaces.
Is way more of an issue than
We don't have a culture of rape in the United States. But if you want to make it easier for rapists to rape people, allow them into women's locker rooms.
Unprosecuted and uncharged.
Because the majority of people who are raped don't go to the police, and that's also a problem.
you
That's
do, it
actually,
is really-
that's actually completely false.
It is not completely false.
Take any state, there will be a exorbitant excess of untested and unpursued rape kits of physical evidence.
Because rape kits, you can only perform a rape kit within a certain window after the rape happens. So if it's 48 hours and you go to the police 72 hours later, a rape kit isn't going to be useful.
Well, I think that's the thing. You have these rape kits that they are taken, but they are never actually implemented. They take this physical evidence and they throw it away.
Where did you read that they throw rape kits away?
They don't throw it away, but they
You just said they throw it away. So which is it?
Exactly as you said. That 72-hour window, they're not testing it. They're
Right, they can't, because they can't.
But why?
Are you aware of how a vagina works?
But no,
A vagina cleans itself.
no, what I'm saying to you,
The
right?
DNA is no longer there 72 hours later.
You're
That's the problem.
misconstruing my point.
I'm not misconstruing your point. First you said they throw the rape kits away. Then you said they don't throw the rape kits away. Then you said, well, why can't they do it after 72 hours? Why is it only 48 hours they can perform a rape kit? And it's because a vagina cleans itself.
The rape kits adequately.
Again, because if you don't report a rape until the window for performing a rape kit is over, you can't perform a rape
These are
kit.
rape kits that have been fully tested. They have evidence.
So now they're throwing them away again.
They have rape kits with evidence. Stockpiles, millions of rape kits.
Where did you read this?
I've looked at multiple sources.
Like what?
I can pull up right now.
Please show me that there are millions of rape kits across the country that are completely unused.
That there is almost a culture of allowing rape in the U.S.
If there was a culture of allowing rape in the United States, we wouldn't prosecute rapists and send them to prison. If you want a culture of rape, go to the Middle East.
They're not prosecuting.
Wait. Do you think nobody's in jail for in prison for rape?
I mean,
It is illegal to rape people in this country. If you want a culture of rape, go to the Middle East where it is legal to rape people.
Maybe we don't propagate racist propaganda.
Do you think that it's not illegal or that it's not legal to rape people in the Middle East?
It's not legal.
It's legal in Yemen. It's legal in Saudi Arabia. It's legal in Syria. It's legal in Lebanon. It's
Speaking to somebody who served active duty in the United States military.
congratulations. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, just like your shitty little sign and your shitty little
Just
hat.
because you served in the armed forces does not mean that you know more about the Middle East than me.
Actually, it does because it was an Arabic linguist, dumbass.
Where were you an Arabic linguist?
In Monterey, that's where they train all linguists.
Okay,
Who
and
are
where did you serve?
served in California and I served in Washington State.
Okay, so
You don't need
not in the Middle East.
You don't need to deploy to the
So
Middle
so
East
why
to
so
serve
why
in
does this
countries.
mean that you know more about the Middle East than me?
I
I'm confused.
guarantee you I know more.
Thank
about
you
the
for
Middle
your
East.
service, but why does this mean you know more about the Middle East than me?
Oh, please tell me what are your credentials?
I've read books.
Good job. My master's
It
in
is
the
it
Middle
is
East
it is
studies.
it is legal to rape your wife in Afghanistan, Yemen, Saudi Arabia.
It's actually part of South Asia.
It's part
Oh,
of the
look at the
Middle
map.
East. It is illegal. It is legal to rape your wife in Iran, Afghanistan. Sorry. How about go to the Arab world? Sorry, does that make it better?
No, because you're still wrong.
There are name me a country where it's not where it's illegal to rape your wife in the Arab world. Okay, Egypt is one. Name another one.
That was my area of specialty.
Name another one. I can name you dozens where it's legal to rape your wife, and it's also legal to marry children, which means you can rape children.
It's legal to marry children here too.
No,
dumbass.
it's not.
Yes, it is. Tell me that in Missouri, the state where I am from, that it is not legal to have a parent sign off for a minor to marry.
If you're 17, right?
Younger than 17.
In Iran, in Afghanistan, in Saudi Arabia, in Gaza, there is no legal age for marriage. You can legally marry a 1-year-old. In Yemen, the legal not Yemen. Yemen, there's no legal age for marriage. In why can't I think of what country it is?
But you know what?
In Sudan, it's 10.
Let me tell you, the laws don't prevent rape here. As someone who was raped while I was
But
in
at
the
least
military,
it's illegal here.
it might be illegal, but what does it matter if it's not enforced?
Because
Just
if
as he
somebody
was
rapes
saying-
somebody, they
just
go to
as he
you
was
can.
saying Donald Trump was convicted,
He wasn't convicted.
Civilly liable.
He was held-
civilly liable.
What is the burden of proof? It's not the same. What is the burden of proof in criminal court?
Do I look like a fucking
The
lawyer?
burden of proof in that case would be the rape kit. Which
No. Burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, what is the burden of proof in civil court?
Do I look like
It is
a fucking
50.1%. Just, well, you might have done it. That's the burden of proof in civil court. What was the primary piece of evidence in Donald Trump's case?
her testimony? And
Well,
has
no,
to be a better-
it wasn't. That's wrong. No. The primary piece of evidence was the fact that Donald Trump said he had never seen her before, E. Jean Carroll, and then they found a photo that she took with him
In
from
addition
40 years ago.
It's not made up of representatives. You're right.
Oh, that won't hurt anyone.
Drop
Let's
it.
not hurt anyone.
Drop it. Drop it. Get off me. Don't touch my shit. Let me just rebuild this real quick.
I will too.
I'm sure if you give him a moment,
It's
freedom of speech for you, like.
Oh, dude, you got some balls.
What's that?
We got some balls, I think.
Yeah.
So you're done for the day?
No, I'm not done. No, I don't get scared away.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, how do you define man or woman? Because this is essential to talking about.
Yeah, so a woman is an adult human female, and a man is an adult human male. Oxford.
It's a little. That's a little circular. Define female, right? Like,
Female is an adult human. Or sorry, wait, did I say female? I meant woman. So, wait, hold up. Where are we? I'm sorry, my brain is like soup right now. I just had somebody come up and like rip my sign off my table and then try to get into a fight with me. Okay, define woman. Woman is an adult human female. A man is an adult human male. Male and female specifically is defined as a person falling into the sexual category capable of bearing children and producing ova. Those are the Oxford definitions, most credible dictionary in the English language.
I would argue that there are multiple definitions of male and female that are in use outside of just that one. That one is a viable definition, but when we talk about gender, it's also about the expression of it.
I don't think so. I don't think it can't be about the expression, because if I put on a wig and a dress right now, I'm not a woman. I can put on a wig and a dress and still not think myself that I'm a woman. So regardless of how I'm expressing myself, that doesn't determine what I am.
Okay.
Like femboys, right? Femboys pretend, they dress very feminine and they sometimes appear as women, but they're not even trying to be women. They're just being more feminine than most men. And that doesn't make them women. So it can't be about expression, because if that was the case, simply appearing as a woman would make you a woman, which isn't the case.
Admitting that they can appear as a different gender betrays the fact that expression does matter in how sex is presented.
I don't think it does at all. I think the only thing that matters with your sex is your biological capabilities, what chromosomes you have. So if you are capable of bearing children and producing ova, you are a man or a woman. If you are capable of producing sperm, you're a man.
Well, let's talk about let's say long hair. Traditionally, right now, that's associated with being a woman.
Yeah.
But back then in different cultures, that would be associated with being a man. There's a cultural element outside of the biological, right?
Sure, but I think that's a point in my favor, because that just shows that because you do things or present in a way that aligns with what is currently perceived as being feminine or like a woman, that doesn't actually make you a woman.
Biologically, sure.
Well, I think that woman is going to be a biological category. Like when I say that is a woman, I'm talking about a female person. I'm not talking about this is a dude who's pretending to be a woman. I'm talking about this is like a woman. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's offensive to women to caricaturize them and say that this person is actually just a woman.
I think you still, no matter what, you always have to make a distinction between someone who is trans or thinks they're trans versus cisgender people, right? I'm not saying that trans people, like a trans man is not the same as a cis man.
So they're not the same. You're saying they're not the same.
I'm not saying they're not men. I'm saying they're not the same.
So you're saying a trans woman is not the same as a biological woman.
No. Like a square is a rectangle, right? But a square is not the same as the category of rectangle.
I think that would work better in reverse. I wouldn't agree with you. I think that men cannot be women. I think that you can pretend to be a woman and you can present as a woman, but that doesn't mean that you actually are a woman. Like okay, what if I came to campus today and said I'm black? Am I black? What if I painted my skin brown, walked around campus yelling I'm a black man? Does that make me a black man? It's what I'm presenting as.
Give me a moment to think about that. In this hypothetical, would you sincerely think you are black?
Yes.
I think as long as this delusional person is convincing enough.
It's me.
No. Well, you wouldn't. You right now would not sincerely
Well, let's say
believe.
in the hypothetical, it's me.
Yeah. If you hypothetically thought you were black and it was convincing enough to other people that you were black, I haven't thought this.
But if it was found out, you know, like somebody did an expose on me and found out that I wasn't black, like let's say they came up and just, you know, picked my skin for a second and found out that I was just covered in paint, would people have a reason to be upset at me?
Yes, because you aren't actually that characteristic.
Right, just like in my view would be men are not actually women, and I think it's offensive for men to pretend to be women and sort of undermine what it actually means to be a woman, because being a woman is not easy, right? I mean, like you have to deal with like predatory men, child bearing, you have to deal with like your menstruation, the fact that like women might be viewed as like less valuable as they age by men who, like, if they're still in the dating market, it'll be more difficult for a 40-year-old woman to find a partner because she's going to be less likely to be able to bear children, et cetera, et cetera. And this person is just stepping in and saying, yep, well, you know, I'm wearing a dress, so like I'm just the same as you. I don't think that they are the same, and I think it's very disrespectful and frankly sexist to say that they can be the same.
Actually, I'm thinking about this more thoroughly. If you like act, man, this is really weird.
If I acted black,
you can, like, when people talk about like white people, like some people act sort of white, right?
Sure.
Right, like some people act sort of. There's stereotypes. Stereotypes exist,
yep.
And you can pass as those things. I guess in an ideal world, people shouldn't really care about race, so I don't think people should be outraged.
Okay.
If there wasn't the historical context of blackface, then I don't think there's actually anything wrong with this hypothetical camp.
But is it true? Is it true that I'm black?
I mean, race is just a social category as well.
But it is tied to like actual characteristics. Like there are like slight physical differences in the phenotypes between white and black people. Like black people tend to have larger noses. White people tend to have smaller ears. White people tend to have smaller lips. Or if, you know, as my viewers tell me, in my case, no lips. So like there are differences between black and white people, and it is a baseline category of people. And I think that black people would probably
these categories is somewhat arbitrary, right? Like if I sample the people that have red hair and sample the people that are black hair, you're going to get very different results.
Sure, but I think if I pretended to be black and bathed in a pool of brown paint, I think most black people would be justified in being upset about that.
Or I'm not like in the current world, if you were to do that, yes, it would be very offensive. But in a better world where race doesn't matter as much, right? Like socially, then that shouldn't matter.
What ethnicity are you?
I'm Chinese.
Okay, you're Chinese. So what if I
American?
What if I pretended to be Chinese? Like, what if I did something like there's no history of like Chinese face in the United States, but what if I? Okay, you'd think it's funny, but like, what if I did something like I don't know. I don't want to be offensive here, but like if I like clothespinned my eyes and like I don't know, like walked or like somehow made myself shorter in some way and like just pretended to be Chinese and like walked around in some kind of clothes that Chinese people would wear and just said like I am actually Chinese. Like, do you think that some Chinese people would be offensive? Like, would your grandma be justified in being offended by that?
I don't think my parents would. Actually, I don't think anyone in my family would care.
Okay,
I actually think this is if for Asian people it's a little different than compared to other like.
Sure. Do you think that it would be? Do you think that it would be make me actually a Chinese person though? I think is really the root of the question. It's not about whether people would be offended by it. It's like, does it actually make me a Chinese person?
There's a thing about. I think race requires some level of like lineage when you're talking about it socially, but gender not.
I would think that being a man or a woman would require like a biological fixture. Like you are going to have these chromosomes X, X, or XY, and you're going to have to be capable of doing one biological thing or another, like bearing children or producing sperm.
Like if you have like two white parents and try to express yourself as black, there's something wrong with that because like there's some like lineage.
What if I said, well, I found out that I'm 1% black, and then I said that I am a black person?
I think you are.
Really?
Yeah, I guess.
I have some like small degree.
It really depends on who you ask.
And like what if I also have some larger than the black percentage, but like some small degree of like Native American. Like what if I just started like walking around in a headdress?
I mean, it's arbitrary. It's somewhat arbitrary where you have to draw the line.
I think it's ridiculous. It's not race. You're right. Is not as concrete as sex.
No, I'm saying race as a category and gender are different because when you talk about race, there's like you need like some like family line.
Right. Race is a little different. It's less concrete than sex. But like, okay, what if I wanted to be like a lizard? What if I said, and I, the guy from Ripley's Believe It or Not, I like tattooed scales all over me. I got my eyes changed so that there is a slit.
Well, I
got my tongue split so it runs forked now. Like, am I actually a lizard?
There's no humans that pass as lizards, so there's no cultural standard for lizard passing.
What if I? Well, but it doesn't matter because like people who don't pass as female still claim that they're female. Like they say I'm a woman, but they don't look or sound like a woman.
Yeah, they're just bad at passing.
But they still think they're a woman. So it's like I might not pass as a lizard, but I probably pass more than some men pretending to be women. I probably pass better as a lizard, right, than they do as a woman. And so it doesn't make sense to me that they can be a woman with like literally changing nothing about themselves, or they can be a man changing nothing about themselves, but I can't be a lizard actually changing things about myself. It's like I just don't believe in this idea that you can be things that you are not. Like a square is a square, you're a man, you're a woman.
You can't ever be the biological category of whatever that thing is, but you can be the social definition of what that is. And what is wrong with allowing that?
Because I think when you start putting it into policy, like we've done here, you end up with transgender people in women's sports. You end up with Leah Thomas smashing every record that he competed for at the University of Pennsylvania, taking those accolades from women. I see Leah Thomas winning the NCAA championship and stripping that from a woman. I see Peyton McNabb being spiked in the face with a volleyball by a man and then smashing her head off the ground behind her, walking away with a brain injury and a skull fracture.
Well, I think that's just bad policy. Couldn't you just write it that if you have some if we have weight classes for boxing, why don't we have testosterone classes? Like I'm being really serious, actually.
Because there wouldn't be enough. So like, I hear proposed a lot like a transgender league, like a separate league for trans people, and I think you just end up.
I'm not talking about trans league. I'm talking about not organizing people based on.
Well, I think your testosterone would fluctuate, right? So like your testosterone is, as a man, also going to be
right, but
judged
average levels, right?
Right, but it can change. Like your average levels can change, right? Like if you right now drastically changed your diet and started exercising a lot more, your levels of testosterone would likely shift.
I would suppose you have to aggregate it like based on like a monthly basis or something, or like.
So it's like every month you get switched to a different team. It just seems like it wouldn't be feasible. It's like the reason we have separate leagues for men and women
people
is
change their weight all the time. This is another biological, like, just because there's an issue in transport. I may even agree with you.
Well, testosterone also doesn't determine like being a man innately will cause you to have a greater bone density, more muscle mass, et cetera, than a woman. And that's unrelated to your testosterone, right? You're going to have that innately as a man. And you can inject estrogen or whatever, but that's not going to change your bone density, at least not to a degree drastic enough to prevent you from like severely harming a woman.
I don't actually know anything about that, but you should just group people based on a different factor than just gender, like in sports.
I mean, I think you'd end up with the huge problem, like you said, like testosterone levels. I think you'd end up with a huge problem, because these are team sports, and you're likely not going to be able to find enough people to put on a team in a high school, right? Like my high school had like 100. I graduated with 100 kids, or my graduating class at my first school had 100 kids, and then when I was a senior, I moved, and my graduating class had 40 kids. We barely had enough team people to start on the soccer team, you know what I mean? Let alone like now you're dividing people into different like testosterone level categories, and wrestling is different. Like you have weight classes. You can pull that off at some high schools because you're only looking for one opponent, right? So if you have two guys that fall into the same weight class, that's sufficient for the wrestling match. Whereas like if you need 5 people that fit that weight class or that testosterone class, you're going to be far less likely to find them.
Just because there's an issue in trans sports doesn't mean that we should throw away a social category of.
Well, I don't think that it is throwing away social category. I think blurring the lines and saying that men can be women is throwing away the social category. I think we already have for the past like thousands of years we've known that like men are men and women are women. It's like all of a sudden since I don't know, like the past 2 decades, it's now men can be women, and it actually doesn't matter anymore, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's just an objective falsehood. Like men cannot be women.
Biological men can't be biological.
Yes, that's what a woman is, an adult human female.
There's something beyond the biology.
Says who? I don't think so. If you're operating off of the presumption that men can be women, no, I'm good. If you're operating off of the presumption that men can be women, now you're going to end up naturally allowing men in women's sports because they are women, but they're not women. The objective truth is that they're not.
Again, I feel like this is, at its core, an issue about definitions. Because I think that you could be whatever you desire to be.
Can I be a black man?
Of gender.
Why only gender?
I'm not saying why only, this is the argument.
But why only gender? Like, why can't I be a black man?
I heard you used this argument against the last woman as well, and I was thinking about maybe a proper response. Harder when you're on camera, I guess. But I have to think. I guess, you know what? You could. And the strangeness of it...
And that would make me, legitimately a black person.
Well...
Like, I would be objectively a black guy.
I guess... Do you think that you would? It's like
I sincerely believe it.
You sincerely believe it.
Yes.
Then you believe it, and it's true for you. And I think that's maybe the important part.
I disagree with that. I don't think that something can be true for you.
You sincerely believed it.
I think that it doesn't matter if I sincerely believe it or not. Something can't be true for me. It's either true or it's not. It's objectively true or it's objectively false. And me being a black man is objectively false. I'm not black. I'm white.
Yeah, I don't know if we should move away from I don't think race is connected to gender in that way.
But it's an analogy. So like if you can just say I feel therefore I am for gender, why can't I feel therefore I am for race? Or what if I say I'm a lizard? Am I actually a lizard?
At the end of the day, I think when it comes to the way you express yourself in society, it does not matter to the society. It matters to the way you express yourself.
Listen, I'm not trying to make it illegal for men to wear dresses. I am just saying that it is an objective fact that if you wear a dress, that does not mean you're a woman.
I don't think dresses or makeup or any of that is like even feminine. It's just the thing. I guess it's societally feminine.
Sure, but what do trans people do generally when they're trying to present as a woman? They wear dresses and they put on makeup.
But that's for like gender performance. I don't think women should have to perform for a gender. I don't think
but I'm asking you, like, on average, what do trans men or men who think they're trans, that think they're a woman, what do they do to conform to that gender? They wear dresses and wear makeup.
I think they do whatever makes them feel most comfortable in the gender that they are, which is female.
It's not the gender that they are. They're not female. Female is defined as a person who falls into the sexual category capable of producing ova and bearing children.
Okay, then by your definition, they're not. And that might be the end of the debate, right? But my definition is different, because definitions are fluid, and like we both believe different things, and that can both be true at the same time. It's weirdly paradoxical, right? Because you will think they are a man who is masquerading as something they're not, and I'll think they are what they are, which is what they want to be.
Would you say if I painted my skin brown and walked around this campus that I'm a white man masquerading as a black man?
I would say you are being and doing what you want to be. Does that mean I want you in my social circles, or I want you to be around my campus?
But I'm not a black man. It doesn't make me a black man. I'm not a black man. I'm pretending to be a black man, and that's exactly what men pretending to be women are doing. They're pretending to be women. They're not women.
But if you, I guess it's at the end of the day, what do you want to do with it? Like, are you walking around in dresses because you like wearing dresses? My dad raised me like with this in mind. He said, Judah, if you ever came home and said, I want to paint my nails and I want to wear necklaces, he said, I wouldn't start referring to you as a woman, because I don't think those make you a woman. But he said, if you wanted to be a woman, then I would refer to you as a woman, because that's what you wanted to be.
I think that's wrong. I think that it's not true.
But I don't think it's wrong.
It's not. But it is. What does wrong mean? Wrong means for something to not be true, and it is not true.
Okay, immoral is what I took that wrong.
I don't care. As an adult person, I do not care what you do. I do not care if you wear dresses. I don't care if you paint your nails or wear makeup. It does not physically matter to me. What matters to me is simply the objective truth that men cannot be women, because I think that when you pretend that men can be women and you operate off of the
Let's move out of sports. What does it harm others?
Well, why would we just eliminate one of the biggest places where it does harm people? If you want to move out of sports, let's talk about locker rooms, talk about bathrooms, let's talk about any space that is exclusive to a woman, right? Do you think it's comfortable? Co-ed dorms, like if you have a dorm building that is only for girls, and the girls sign up for that dorm building thinking that they're only going to be rooming with a woman, and then they end up with a dude who has a penis and they have to change in front of that person, you think that's comfortable? Do you think it's safe? I don't think it's safe, and I don't think women should be put through that.
To be completely honest, I think it depends on the people. Because any person who is any trans person who has a penis and identifies as a woman, in my opinion, there are bad people and then there are people, and I think trans people can be both, like every person.
I agree. I totally agree with you, but I don't think that means that we should force women to be co-ed dorming with a person with a penis. I also don't think that it means we should be forcing women to change in rooms with men.
I don't know if we're forcing them into this. Right?
So if you have a building that is not co-ed and it is just for women, and somebody signs up for that dorm thinking that they're going to be put in a room with a woman, and they're put in a room with a dude.
There are systems in place for this, because if you are a woman who's uncomfortable by this, there are systems in place that let you stop.
Great. Now you're labeled as a transphobe. So great.
No.
Absolutely. There is absolutely intimidation and social pressure to go along with whatever they say. 1,000%. I was talking to the other person about this. The difference between the two sides is I had a person walk up to this table, a transgender person in a mask, walk up to this table, rip the sign off the table, and then rip it up in front of me. And they did that in broad daylight with no consequences. And then I had a person who was so scared to tell me they agreed with me, they slipped me a note.
I heard about that as well. And I mean, I feel like I cannot properly describe that if I was in, the Deep South and I had a table that said, I believe that men can make out with men and date men, and a large amount of people might come up to me and rip the sign off the table. It's like, you think that's... it's just I don't think it's right. I just think it's a determinate factor of where you are. It's like you're in a campus where people view this place as a safe haven for their self-identity.
I don't even think that's the case. Go to Austin, Texas, and that's not going to happen to you. The majority of people at a university in Austin, Texas are going to agree with you.
I'm not saying the majority. And I didn't say it at campus. I didn't say university campus. I just meant like if I was at a 7-Eleven.
Go sit on the sidewalk with a sign that's the inverse of this in Austin, Texas, and I bet you people aren't going to come up and attack you. And that's the other thing too, is I think the right conducts itself in a different way.
That the majority of people will, right? And I think here the majority of people have passed you by and like been completely okay with what you're doing. I'm good with this. Like I think proper debate and discussion is very good, and I feel like a lot of people are. But of course, I mean, it makes sense that a lot of people would be like uncomfortable because like this is a place that some people have escaped. They've escaped places where they feel endangered or disliked or hated, and they've come here to Seattle, which is like the center of, or like one of the centers of like justice.
Lawlessness.
For these people. Not lawless, justice.
No, come on. I was robbed in broad daylight yesterday.
Robbed?
Oh, I wish I could tell you who it was, but they were unfortunately wearing black clad and a mask in the middle of the day.
Wait, what was stolen? It's actually crazy.
My GoPros. So that's what happened. So we're at the protest yesterday. Me and another journalist were undercover. We're in black clad. We're dressed as Antifa. These people are like following old women as they leave the Riley Gaines event. Like old couples, any old person who leaves the building, they wouldn't follow like middle-aged men because they know they can beat the shit out of them. So they're following old people to their cars and like, kill yourself. I would love to see a rifle bullet go through your head. Your blood on the pavement would look so beautiful. I wish I could see you swinging from a tree with a rope around your neck, like shit like that. Exact quotes, by the way. I posted the videos on my Twitter. So we're like following them around, recording them doing that. But they think we're one of them, and they think we're recording the police for their safety or whatever. So anyway, they found us out, and so they chase us down the street, like literally into traffic. And my GoPro fell off my chest and I like fucking pepper sprayed their asses. But they ran off with it. They took all my footage for the day, and they took $400 worth of equipment. And nothing happened. The cops were everywhere. It's like, Seattle's lawless, man.
Well, yeah, Seattle faces a struggle of where, but
I don't want to get too much into policy.
There was just that. I don't know. I agree. But there was just that big... Oh, there's my friend Chase. There was just that big discussion. I heard it in the news. It was like the trans LGBTQ nude beach that has a bunch of police presence around it, and even just in ideas around it. And it's like also people are just getting robbed at...
Do you think that could be the case? Like, that the reason there's a higher police presence at a transgender nude beach is because everyone is constantly talking about this myth that there's tons of homicide against trans people?
No, I think it's completely because the people who are in power enough to influence the police department are...
Based on what? I mean, where is this beach?
I don't know. I don't know the exact address or location.
I mean, it seems to me that if there was a higher police presence, nobody thinks that transgender people are committing a ton of crimes,
totally.
right? But constantly from the left, all you hear is people are trying to kill trans people.
No, can I describe what I'm saying? I'm saying the people who are in charge of being able to, I'm not saying all people. I'm saying a large majority of the people who are in power enough to describe what this presence can do, or what police power and what police presence is put towards, are probably old people, which means they're probably more Republican. And this is just statistics. They're just that's it. If you're older, you're a higher percentage Republican. If you're younger, you're highest percentage Democrat. And that's just how it be. And sometimes you switch as you get older. It's like,
but I don't think this logically makes sense. Like, why would you, as an old person, logically think it makes sense to police a transgender beach when transgender people aren't going to commit crimes, and you're not going to be like...
If you are an older Republican, you're worried about that. Because you're worried about the fear-mongering of even you, when you described the trans man and the trans woman in the co-ed room, you automatically are assuming they're a rapist.
No, I'm not assuming they're a rapist. But I'm saying, I wasn't even talking about rape in that case. I was just talking about the uncomfortability of this is a room where you have to change. Because when I talked to Paula Scanlon, who was Leah Thomas's former teammate, it's like, is Leah Thomas going to rape them? No, but you're a woman and you're next to this hulking dude and you have to completely get naked in front of him, and he dated a girl on their team, and it's just not I don't even like changing in front of other dudes. Sometimes you got to do it, but I don't like doing it. And imagine if I was a little tiny woman and I had to change in front of this hulking dude.
At the end of the day, I think the comfortability of everybody involved is the most important factor, right? And at what point do you sacrifice one person's comfortability for the others?
I think when that person is sacrificing everyone else's comfortability for their lie. I think that's where. And I think that pretending you're a woman when you're not a woman is a lie.
But it's still their comfortability.
But it's not. But what they're okay. So like, if somebody said, "I'm a dog, I need a litter box in the men's room," does that mean we should throw a litter box in there and it stinks and smells like piss, or like what's the deal?
I think that is a completely different.
Let's see, they're like kicking the shit everywhere.
Yeah, but trans human beings aren't kicking the shit.
What if I say I'm a monkey and it makes me comfortable to throw my poop across the room at the wall? Like, does my comfortability now surpass everyone else's?
I don't think trans people are calling themselves monkeys and saying they're going to throw.
No, but they are lying, and their lies make other people uncomfortable.
They're trying to seek comfort and self-love.
It is untrue that they are a woman. If you are a man claiming you're a woman, it is untrue, which makes it a lie, and your lie makes other people uncomfortable.
Okay, but at the end of the day, regardless, how do you get everybody to be as they're most comfortable, right?
I think if other people need to lie and be uncomfortable for your comfortability, I don't think that comfortability should be appeased.
Okay. But
if I said, I feel most comfortable, my name's Jeffrey Dahmer, I feel the most comfortable slaughtering gay people in my apartment, I shouldn't...
All I'm saying, now, okay, great. People shouldn't be lying to make other people comfortable. I agree. Then how do you make them comfortable? Like, how do you get a biological born male that believes, and I believe is also now a female, how do you get them to be the most comfortable?
They're going to have to figure it out. It's not by lying and making other people get naked in front of you.
But they're going to have to figure it out. Like, how? Like, I guess
I don't know. Go somewhere where you feel safe. Whatever. I don't care.
UW campus, and
that's great. You should feel pretty safe around here.
I think that's like a part of why this sort of debate structure and like this thing is so adverse here. Or I guess it's why it's so reactionary, why you get so many big reactions, is because...
I don't get that many big reactions. Like, I get people who come flip me off and tear my sign down, but I get a lot of people like you who sit down and we have really good conversations, and that's the majority, I think.
No, completely. But I'm saying those adverse reactions are probably because this is like a space of comfort, right? This is, at the end of the day, after everybody's been like, or at least half the aisle has been like, I don't know, figure it out.
I don't think that's why. I think the reason I get adverse reactions like ripping my sign up is because people feel emboldened by the fact that there's virtually no police here. Like 2 days ago when they almost caught a building on fire and the police didn't show up for 45 minutes and they were allowed to block fire trucks and nothing happened. And then none of them were arrested except the 30 that were in the building who had nothing to do with it. So, like, I don't know.
I don't know anything about that other than that it happened and there's like $1 million in images. And I completely, by the way, I can condone evil actions and still agree with the idea that people would do that because of an emotional response to an issue that they really disagree with.
But what I'm saying is the people around here feel emboldened by violence because nothing is done about their violence. They can act in violence and nothing will happen, nothing will come of it because there is no police here.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting argument, and I could completely understand, and I might even agree. Because the lack of any sort of repercussion does inspire something to happen.
It's like laws are only as good as their enforcement mechanism, and if you don't have an enforcement mechanism, they basically don't exist.
But also, it's like, I think the other side of that coin is like reaction and resistance to something that you do not agree with comes when, like, the more pushed down you feel. And maybe not the more pushed down you are. I don't know I don't know how reality it works, but also, or like I don't know how real that is compared to feeling an echo chamber. Because like we build walls that we box ourselves in social media, in online spaces, in forums, and communities. We've slowly built little echo boxes, and those seem to repress even further than already bad oppression and repression. And that, I think, also causes violence. That's, in my opinion, the leading cause. Is like the reason you get people who join, like, neo-Nazi groups, and the reason you get people who join groups that burn down buildings, or like try to burn down buildings, is because they enter, like, communities that never do this. They enter communities that never talk to each other.
I agree with you. Yeah, right? I fully agree with you.
And that, like, I guess leads to destruction on anybody, for anybody.
No, I agree with you. That's why I also don't agree with censoring Nazis on the internet, because I think the more you validate their "I'm censored" thing, they're going to continue. They gain more power and more people and more legend.
Completely different. Like I don't even. I didn't prepare to talk about.
No,
that,
you're
but,
fine. You're fine.
I mean, there are plenty of people I agree with that agree with that. Like the one, I'm forgetting his name, black man, super great speaker who like made friends with a bunch of KKK Klansmen and then like tried to convert them. But he was a journalist mainly.
I know who you're talking about.
I don't know. I really had a lot of respect for that guy. And then like the stories of neo-Nazis who worked with people and got tattoos covered up and stuff. I have a lot of respect for people changing, but a lot of hate for anything that is evil.
Yeah. I think censoring people in general validates whatever they're saying, right? If you say like Jews are evil, and then you're censored, all of a sudden people are going to say, why was he censored? Is he right? Are the Jews really controlling the media? Maybe he's right.
I can't fully agree with.
And by the way, I hate those people. Like I argue with those people more than I argue with anybody else. I am like the biggest Israel shill on the planet, but I think that censoring people who don't agree with Israel is like. I've been to Israel once. I'm going back in August and in September. Like it's not that I don't misconstrue that I support Nazis. I just don't think they should be censored because people like Nick Fuentes gain notoriety and support by being censored. Yeah. So if you let Nick just like fucking yell into the void for his entire career, nobody will listen to him, right? Because he sounds fucking crazy, right? If you let Kanye walk around with swastikas around his neck forever and don't censor him, nobody's gonna care. But the more you ban Kanye, why did he get banned? Because the Jews control the internet. Fucking Jesus.
Yeah, I can understand that like part of debate. I mean, I really think like censoring, in my opinion, and this is probably like my last until I leave because I gotta go back home. But this is a more of a fun debate. Before I was like very serious. The censoring is, I think, it's an interesting issue. It's like less. I don't know how to. It's just an interesting issue. But in my opinion, censoring, especially, I think a lot of problems should be boiled down to community-based things, where it's like online is a rough world, right? Where everybody's battling in some race to be correct. But like the true people that you really should care about how you get along with them are like the people around you, like my friends and my peers and anybody I walk around and see on campus, right? And that censoring in that regard, I think is like not like letting people out of your group, like not letting people like in your group, which is to the level of, you do this thing that I completely don't agree with, makes me uncomfortable, makes me mad, hurts me. It's like, sure. I don't need to be friends with you.
Like you choose who you be around. Same way you choose who you follow.
Yeah. And it's like, and I can still discuss like with you, I can still talk with you, but it's like, yeah, but I'm not like going to Sunday brunch, right? Totally. And then, but at the same time, the best ways to form connections and make communities is to bridge those gaps, right? Because that makes all people better.
Yeah,
so,
I think you can still be friends with like opposing political beliefs too, right? Like, you know, like.
I mean, I grew up in.
I'm friends with like Harry Sisson, and I'm not friends with Dean. I actually just don't like the way Dean conducts himself. But like, I'm friends with a lot of those guys, and it's fine, and we joke around and have a beer or whatever. But it's that's not going to stop me from like debunking the shit out of Harry. But
yeah. I mean, I grew up in Spokane, other side of the state.
Okay.
So, which is all red. I grew up like by Idaho. So there's a lot of people who, and it's interesting because it's like post that big fire, it's like people texting me worried about my safety, right? And that's like it's an interesting thing to receive, because here I feel safe and I feel like anybody who did that would never have even thought about me, right? But then it's an interesting thing to think like the amount that affects people on like I guess people who aren't maybe even slightly aligned with any of the stuff that happened to that.
Yeah, it's like imagine the people in the engineering building who go to school there, right? It's like the reaction to these things, like $1 million in damages. The reaction on the other side of the state, I just didn't like. I was like, I bet UW people are reacting, and that's it. And then I just didn't expect a wave of people to be like, hey, did you hear about this? And I was like, I didn't really realize how. You can thank me for that. My amazing reporting of the event made it go worldwide. But
well, I think that's it for me. I'll let you go. It was a good debate.
Yeah.
I think I agree with the start. I don't think either of us have really been swayed in any direction, but
that's fine.
It was good to hear your side and what you think.
Well, have a good one. Judah,
you are
Cam.
I'm terrible at names.
Cam, C-A-M.
Cam, okay, sweet.
Like a camcorder.
And you're on YouTube?
I'm on YouTube, yeah. Cam Higby.
Well, I'll have to listen to it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good one. I appreciate you sitting down and chatting.
Yep.